Hello, this is a review of Rock Island by Jethro Tull, one of my favourite bands, and it's in my top 10 albums. And this is a review in a kind of defence of it because it's not as popular as many of the other Tull albums. I watched recently a Sea of Tranquillity video ranking certain albums as to whether they are underrated, misunderstood, or they just plain suck. There were 7 panelists who offered. Well, they differed quite widely in their opinions. It's very interesting. Excuse me while I cut my notes. Got to get this right. They widely differed in their opinions, and one of those albums was Rock Island by Jethro Tull. I think that the main emerging question of the group was, why isn't this album as popular as many other of the band's recordings? As you may know, if you've seen my top 10 Jethro Tull video list, Rock Island is in my top 10 of Jethro Tull. My opinion is that it forms a kind of deep cut of its time when the band was developing a certain sound based on recent live shows, which I'll come to later. But first, my appraisal of the album as it exists. As pointed out in the prog video, the lyrics are superb, as Ian Anderson's lyrics always are, and the musicianship is equally great. Martin Barr and Dave Pegg's guitars, the flute, Don Perry, who drums on most of the tracks. There are only 2 he doesn't play on, and he's also exceptional. But what I find is what I find is that the song melodies, except on Heavy Water, the song Heavy Water, don't display the pop values that Anderson was so good with on more classic or much earlier Tull albums. This means that in terms of song, this album is not as memorable as other records. It's memorable for different reasons. The song style is based in part on, of all things, the kind of children's rhymes, not nursery rhymes, but older kids. The rhymes that slightly older kids have, which I find interesting, and wonder if Anderson had a daughter who used a skipping rope and did the kind of chanting that they do, but I digress. Recently, a CD was released from a performance, which happened in between Crest of a Knave and Rock Island. This is the Rock Island album, one of my CD cases. There, that's Rock Island. Historically, The performance was in between the two, during a tour in between the two. It is called Songs from the Tower, and I do have a copy, but I've misplaced it. It's called Songs from the Tower. On this, there are quite different versions of the Crest of a Knave songs and of earlier material. And if you look at the credits, you'll see that Don Airey is playing the keyboards. Yes, Don Airey of Deep Purple, and if I'm not mistaken, also Rainbow. But he's famous for playing in Deep Purple as well. And this gig really highlights the Tull's ability as a rock band. Now, Don is not on the Rock Island recordings. The keyboards are handled by John Vitesse and Martin Alcock, who play generally differently to Don Airey, but I think that his influence is very much here in the musical shape of Rock Island. That's why I think of it as a kind of deep cut, as the deep cut from the canon of Jethro Tull. As it emerges, this music has emerged from. Excuse me while I look at my notes again. Yeah. The music has emerged from the fantastic work that they did with Don Airey on the Songs from the Tower, the gig on the Songs from the Tower CD, and of course that tour. Knowing this, I enjoy Rock Island even more than I used to. Could it be improved on? Well, if Don Perry played on all the tracks, perhaps it could, but it's not for me to say. Thank you. This is Sherwin.